Okay, hi there. I'm Carrie Ellis, author of 21st Century Superhuman. This is our 21st Century Superhuman show. And today I have with me an amazing friend named Don Paris, who's one of the experts in the world in how to be more healthy around our electronic devices. He works with something called Scalar Energy, and I'm wearing this amazing pendant he makes called a Chio that helps protect me from my computer, my phone, and all those other wonderful things. So Don, how are you today?
I'm excellent. I'm really happy, and I'm in Bali. That's where I live most of the year, and we've got a little bit of rain coming down, so it may or may not hear that. Might get a little background noise today, but
Okay.
it's a beautiful day, and it actually probably will let up. And
Nice. And it's early in the morning for you, and it's in the evening for me. It's fun doing these global conversations. You have such a great bio that I want to read your bio today. I don't do that very often, but I think this one to capture all of your background is just amazing. So let me go ahead and read that really quick. So Don Paris is a Ph.D.
Okay.
He's a published author, speaker, video producer, and musician. His book, Regaining Wholeness Through the Subtle Dimensions, has been published internationally in German, Spanish, Japanese, Portuguese, and English. He is known as the guru of the SE5, the world's most respected subtle energy scalar instrument. And we're going to hear more about that, I think. He is well loved for his style of bringing challenging concepts into an easy to understand language and has been a popular speaker at the Global Sciences Congress, the Congress of Spiritual Scientists, Quantum Energy Medicine Conference, and the United States Psychotronics Association. He has created the most detailed explanation of the principles of radionics and the most advanced training courses in the entire field of radionics and scalar technology. He began exploring the subtle dimensions in the early 70s and has now trained people in over 30 countries around the world in the workings of radionics and the subtle dimensional realities. Don was awarded an honorary doctorate degree in human sciences from the International University of Vitalogical Sciences in Stockholm, Sweden in 2000 for his work with the SE5 and scalar energies. He and his wife, Ilona, who I'll be doing another show with shortly, who work as a team, have contributed to radio and TV shows and have been quoted in numerous publications around the world. They teach seminars in quantum physiology in the US, Europe, and Asia. And I know you guys are kind of in the periphery of New Earth Nation over there too, right? You're kind of really around a pretty progressive crowd there in Bali.
Actually, we are, and actually the designer of this Chio that you're wearing is the architect, Juan Schlosser, who designs all of those incredible buildings out of bamboo for the New Earth Nation. He's just phenomenal. He's just a genius. I'm working with some very, very talented and high-level artists and geniuses here. So
you know what's beautiful is that we're in this time when people are starting to come forward with these incredible skills. I say there's 7 billion brilliant people on the planet, but it's really fun when we start working on positive co-creation such as this and kind of exiting that old system which has kept a lot of people trapped in sort of the mundane. So so exciting that you're doing. You've really put together a beautiful, beautiful, what is the name of your company again?
It's called Living from Vision.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
That's basically what we do. We create visions, and we actually have a course, which my wife will talk with you about how to bring visions into 3D reality so we live that. And that's Living from Vision.
That's really exciting. And you know what? I think we're going to also give people a special opportunity at the end of this show. We'll give them a special code if they decide they want to get some of your products. We'll let them get a discount for connecting with us on this show today.
Yep. I got that worked in, planned out.
Cool. All right. Well, let me just turn it over to you because you're in Bali and sometimes we get a little squeezed on the bandwidth. I'm going to try and minimize myself and I'll let you go ahead and share your slideshow and introduce us to what all this is, how you developed this. And I'm going to put on my page on my website where people can see this video, I'm going to put that Starman video you made because I love it. And like you came from the stars to bring us this amazing technology. So
we had a lot of fun with that. We did an Indiegogo crowdfunding to get this off the ground. And we raised about $75,000, which was a good lift off. And
Yeah.
since then, it's just been straight up because people love this product. They love all of our products, but they love the feeling of what they get when they put this on. As you know, you put it on and you go, oh my God, I can feel the difference, especially working all day on the computer.
And you know what the clincher for me was too is the live blood cell analysis. It shows how fast it cleans our blood up, and it's amazing. And that to me is the real clincher. That was what made me go, man, I want one of those things. So,
yeah, I've got some of those slides. Plus, I added some more stuff. You're going to see some stuff that you don't even know about yet.
Awesome.
Very exciting.
Awesome.
So I'm going to go ahead and launch into that.
Perfect.
I'm going to stop sharing my video. And that'll give us a little more bandwidth, and I'll start sharing my screen.
Perfect. And I'm going to turn my video off, and people will just see a picture of me as well.
Okay, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep, we can see your screen. Perfect.
Okay, well, before I launch into technology, I want to talk about the most amazing technology in the entire universe, which is us. It's phenomenal. So just to give you a concept of where we're at as humans, a person of about 150 pounds has about 70 billion cells. We all know that from science. Get my next slide. Each cell is capable of 10 to the power of 15 reactions per second. Okay, now just to put that in perspective, what that means is the world's fastest meteorological computer would take about 170 million years to do what our body can do in 1 second.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. How miraculous and wonderfully made are we?
We are just phenomenal. And our brain cells are even faster because they're more interconnected. So those are just normal cells. Our brain cells are way beyond this. And that does not even consider our multidimensional access. So when I'm talking about multidimensional, I'm talking about our full beingness, from the soul level to our mental level to our astral levels, these dimensions of our body things. And
we're just learning how to access all those other levels of being really right now.
A lot of people are just in the beginning of that, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. So the reason I bring this up is because we're living in a consciousness interactive universe. This universe that we're sitting in right now, I'm talking about every single person that's sitting there and living and being is in a universe that is consciousness interactive. And some people access that through prayer, for example. And we think that's just totally normal, right? Okay, well, we pray and something happens. But put that in perspective. What kind of universe is reacting or responding to our thoughts, our feelings, and our wishes? I mean, that just blows my mind. Absolutely.
Yes. I think about that every day. It's a lot of what 21st Century Superhuman is about, and that I travel and teach about all the time as well. Yes.
Awesome. So what the next movement is in our 3D experience is consciousness interactive technology. And if you read about the breaking cutting edge of technology and where that's going, it is consciousness interactive technology. That technology has been around for quite a long time. And as you'll see, it's just, we didn't realize that's what it was when it started out 100 years ago. So I'm going to just touch on some aspects of that because it's important to understand how this CHIO came about.
Great.
So this is my mentor, Dr. Willard Frank, also known as Bill Lawson. His full name was William Francis Lawson, so he kind of went by Willard Frank. He was a physicist, and he passed away in 2009. I worked with him for 25 years, and we were best friends. Not only working companions, we were best friends.
Wow.
And he was an amazing inventor. He was also very shy isn't the right word. He didn't want anybody to really know who he was. And there are reasons for that, which I can't go into in this talk, but he invented evidently some very high-end audio equipment, which he would never even tell me what it was because he would say I would figure out who his real identity was.
Wow. I know that there are some really advanced souls on the planet right now, so I'm not surprised to hear that at all. And so cool you got drawn to him to work with them. How beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, it was just one of those cosmic connections right from the
Nice.
beginning.
Nice.
And so anyway, he lived off of the money from his patents, and subtle energy and all of this kind of stuff was his passion, and we'd say it's his hobby. He didn't need to make money from it, but this was his passion. And this was one of his instruments called the Digitron D, which was the fourth instrument. He actually had already invented the Pathatron, the Vitatron, the Nutritron, and then this was the Digitron. This was the world's first digital radionics equipment. And like I said, in some of my other YouTube videos, I go into the full history of radionics and how the very beginnings of this started, 100 years ago. So if you look at technology 100 years ago, it was very simple and basic. But this was a quantum leap, actually. This was about 1983, I would say, that he came up with a digital radionics equipment. And I'll touch a little bit on radionics about this. But then the fifth unit then was called the SE5, which stood for Subtle Energy Fifth Unit. And that came out in 1986. That's when I got mine in January 1987. So just 30 years ago was when I first got my SE5, the one on the left. And then about 1996, he had upgraded it to the SE5 Plus. And it had some more features and added things. I can't go into depth on all this because I really want to touch into the Chi organizer and what people can access. But this is the basis of the technology of where this came from.
Nice.
And this is just some experiments that have been done over the years. This was done back in 1990. The Institute of Resonance Therapy in Germany did some experiments. This is one of them where the top row of seeds they just planted into some newspaper or something with some water to sprout the seeds. But the bottom seeds, they had balanced them first with the SE5, and just basically it's information technology. So we're putting informational fields, which we call intrinsic data fields, into the auric field of these seeds, so they're able to access more, in this case, more nutrition or informational fields from water, sunlight, nutrition.
Yes, and we're working with that a lot with plasma technology right now. I have been, and I've been teaching it.
Right.
And we used to have a really wonderful lady who's no longer on planet named Marguerite, who did a lot of radionics, and she used to grow the most giant, beautiful organic blueberries in Michigan. She'd just feed her blueberries with radionics, frequency.
Exactly. So that's what we were doing. We were feeding this row of seeds on the bottom with radionics, only with information. But you can see the difference. The root structure is more alive. It has more, it's seeking out more
Yes.
food. Yeah.
Yes.
So I did a similar type of experiment myself in 1999. I took some seeds, and they were in a little planter box, those little rows where there's like 20 or 30 rows. So they all were they all got the same sunlight, the same water, the same everything. The only difference was the bottom ones got information and the top ones didn't. And I only balanced the seeds before I did
Very
that.
cool.
So you can see the difference. And then I planted them into lava rock. I had a little place in Hawaii where I was doing some aquaculture, and so those are the seeds that did get balanced, because I knew what was going to happen. I didn't plant the ones that didn't get balanced, because they wouldn't grow very much anyway. But you can see what I got out of that growing in lava rock. It was amazing. So this is my book called Regaining Wholeness Through the Subtle Dimensions, and I wrote this originally back in about 1995, I think, the first edition. And it goes through the history of radionics. It goes through all of these different aspects of what scalar energy is in more depth about what it is. I will describe a little bit about what it is.
Nice. Is that out as an ebook or just a paperback?
Absolutely. It's an ebook, and you can download it for free if you go to my website.
I want to read that puppy. Yeah, cool.
And you just sign up for my newsletter and you'll get a link to download my book. So yes, I did put that in here for everybody to go ahead and download. So just go to se-5.com and sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get the book download for free.
Awesome.
Yeah, great information in there. It's really fun. So this, after Bill passed away in 2009, I took over all of his work, and so I redesigned the SE5 into the SE5 1000. And so this is my creation based on his work. I mean, it's basically internally very similar. I've just added a lot more features to it and updated it, brought it into the 21st century, basically. And that, my book will go into depth about that.
Nice.
That's not what we want to talk about today, but that's where it came from. And the reason I brought all this up, and just to give you an idea, because Bill is actually the inventor of the Qi organizer. That's who developed the circuitry for this. And here's a couple more experiments I'll show you. This is food preservation. We balanced the nectarine on the right-hand side and didn't balance the control unit, and just let them sit. And I don't remember how long this one was, but you can see that the nectarine on the left is just, it's just shriveling
Oh,
up.
yeah. Yep.
And I've got a lot more experiments that we've done. So here's one we did in India, a physical pyramid versus subtle energy transmission using the SE5 1000. Now, the control ones, it's a little bit hard to see, but by July 4th, we started on the 26th of April. By July 4th, you can see there was some mold starting to grow, and they were starting to deteriorate on the control ones. The SE5 ones that we balanced look just totally normal. The physical pyramid one actually rotted, and we did finally figure out why that was happening. It was a closed pyramid as opposed to an open pyramid.
Interesting.
But the virtual pyramid, and I'm going to describe what a virtual pyramid is, that one actually did better than everything. It was amazing what happened with that one. It looked like brand new.
And how did you make the virtual pyramid?
I'm going to get to that in just a second.
Okay. A brand new tomato. I love it.
Yeah, so this was the control one. You can see, this is a little closer up picture where you can see that it was starting to rot and have some white growth here on the bottom and spots on the other one. And we did taste test, and everybody was measuring all these and grading them. And the virtual pyramid one actually, and the SE5 one, won the taste test contest. So this is the virtual pyramid one. We cut one of them open on July 4th. And the last one I'll show you a little bit later lasted much longer. So what is a virtual pyramid? Well, in India, near Bangalore, there is a pyramid that a guru has built, one of his pyramids, and I met him back in 1996. His name is Sri Patriji, and he's kind of a new age guru. His concept is be a Buddha. He says, you're the master. Don't look at me to be the master. You're the master. And their slogan for the Pyramid Spiritual Society is be a Buddha. And so I met him back in 96, and we became fast friends, and we visited each other in America and in India. And inside this pyramid, it's designed for meditation, but they also have conferences because it holds 5,000 people inside this pyramid.
Wow. That's amazing.
So this was last January, just about a year ago.
Beautiful.
At the World of Quantum Energy Medicine. And I was one of the speakers with Amit Goswami and a bunch of other amazing people. So as you can see, this holds a lot of people. In the middle, they have a meditation level where you can go up those spiral staircases, and that goes up to the king's chamber level, equates to the king's chamber.
Nice.
That little ring up there holds 300 people.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that gives you a concept of how big this place is.
Yeah, the picture is a little
really
bit
large.
deceiving. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. So Amit Goswami, you might remember from What the Bleep. He was in the What the Bleep movie.
Right.
He's a theoretical quantum physicist from India. And so he kind of helped sponsor this quantum energy medicine conference. And Sri Patriji, of course, is completely tied into all of this.
And it looks like you're wearing a Chio there.
Yes, that's a large Chio. And I'll show the differences between them. And I've got some here with me. And later I'll switch back to video view and I'll show you some of these things. I have some other pictures too.
Cool.
So going back to the virtual pyramid, what's a virtual pyramid? So what we did was we took a photo of this big pyramid, and we basically captured the energetic signature of this pyramid. And then using the SE5 1000, we sent those vibrational frequencies, let's call them frequencies, they're scalar informational fields, to the tomato. Okay? So
shouldn't our just homes and towns and villages be built this way, with basically virtual beautiful scalar fields?
Well, we could do things like that. We're working on a lot of different things at the same time, but
Nice.
But this one we're just trying to do some food preservation. And so going back to my, this was the SE5 balanced one, which did very well by July 4th. You can see from beginning to end, it hardly changed at all. But this virtual one was extraordinary. This one was on August 26th.
Wow.
The same tomato. And so they finally cut it open because it wasn't changing. But this tomato was 123 days just sitting out. Now we're talking about in India, right? We're talking India. We're not talking special clean room or something in America where it's air conditioned. This was just sitting outside in India for 123 days. I'll show you some more extraordinary ones, but this is one of them that I found was very extraordinary. So here's an experiment that we did with some cut flowers. Now, what we did was, I don't know if we can do this on going, if it'll play. Sometimes when it's on these, when we're doing these slideshows with Zoom, I don't know if the actual thing,
Right. Do you have like a video or animation or something?
Yeah, it's actually to show, it was time-lapse photography, and maybe actually you could just cut this in and I'll send you the film, because it's so amazing to watch this.
Yeah, send it. I'll cut it in.
It's time-lapse photography, and okay, great.
Perfect.
This is an experiment that we did in China. They took this land, which you can see is not very good soil to begin with. This is a close-up of the soil, and they did some experiments to find out if they could increase the yield in certain areas with the SE5. So the area in this circle was the treated, balanced area, and the rest was not. And you can see it has much more lush plants. Just normal for radionics, but for people that are new to this, these kinds of experiments, we've got to prove to people how it works. Again, this was the area that was balanced in between the two lines, and the rest of it was not. And we go into that in my book about how we can target a specific area and leave the rest of it unbalanced. So this is that same land the next year afterwards, and it's just, they're just doing incredible.
So would you say it's scalar energy that comes in and does crop circles, or is left when the crop circle is made?
That's still a mystery to me. I wish I had an explanation for those crop circles, but I really don't know.
That's okay. We don't have to go into that.
Yeah. So the roots on the left were not grown with without radionics, and the ones on the right were with, and you can just see the difference. They've just got more energy.
Right.
It's not just a fluke. It's just not one plant. This is the whole area. And so they're doing all these kind of studies in China to improve the quality of the food. This is just some more of the food that they grew with radionics. And they just got tons and tons of beautiful potatoes.
Yeah.
So they're doing really great work over there. Exciting stuff.
We're doing some such similar things with plasma. It would be interesting to kind of compare the two someday. Not right now, not today, but very similar.
Yeah. And I do think there's a correlation between what people term plasma and what we call informational fields or intrinsic data fields.
I would agree with you. I'd agree. Cool.
So now, going forward to get to the Chi organizer, this was the original Scalar Plus that my friend Bill invented, the inventor of the SE5. This one, he made about 100 of these by hand himself, and he gave me a bunch of them. And I had it for many years. And I felt it, I liked it, but I didn't really realize what the potential of this little device was until one day we flew from Seattle to Frankfurt, which isn't a real long flight. You know, it's just like 9 hours, and we do that quite often because my wife is from Germany. And one day I'd been wearing it for a few years, and one day I forgot it at home. And when we arrived, we were completely wiped out for 3 days. It took me a while to figure it out, and I finally figured out why was because we hadn't brought the Scalar Plus with us, because we've been using it on all of our flights. And I've come to the conclusion that a lot of why people are tired when they're flying is what I would call electromagnetic exhaustion. Inside of these airplanes, it's just full of electromagnetic fields. So they're just wires running everywhere. And so I took an EMF meter with me on one of my flights, and I walked. It was a pretty empty flight, so I could walk around the flight, the whole airplane, and sit down in different places. And it was pegged out in the red anywhere I sat in that airplane. It was just completely off the charts. And so I've realized that being in airplanes is part of its radiation coming obviously from the sky. There, as the higher you get up above the earth, the more radiation you get. But a lot of it is electromagnetic radiation. And so I've figured out that electromagnetic exhaustion is a real phenomenon.
Interesting.
So he only made 100 of these particular boxes before he passed away. So after I got the SE5 1000 put together, it took me about a year to redesign it and get it back up and running and back on the market. And then I went back to the Scalar Plus, and I thought, wow, that was such a great unit. And I had actually quite a few people kept bugging me about them, saying, you know, can I get more of these? And we didn't have any. So we went ahead and redesigned it and made it into the current Qi organizer, which is in a whole bunch of different forms now. But let's talk a little bit about electromagnetics and the problem with it. Now,
yeah, that would be great, because that's really practical. You know, it's a practical way of looking at it. Like, how is this happening in our world, and then how do we relate to it in a better way?
Now, I love my cell phone. I love my computer.
Right.
We all do.
Yep.
And used properly, I think they are amazing, amazing tools. I mean, the technology that we have come to in the last 20 years is just off the charts. I wouldn't be able to be living in Bali and having my business in America without the internet, for example.
Right. Exactly. I'm with you on that.
It has freed us up. You know that too, because you travel all over the world and you're able to be free and still run your business.
Yes.
And so I'm not saying this is bad technology, but we do need to know, just like anything, we have to know what the upsides and the downsides are and be careful.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So smart meters are one of those things that people need to be aware of. A lot of people don't even know that they're coming and changing their electric meter on their house to what's called a smart meter. And that's a digital meter that has basically cell phone technology built into it so that it can signal the office and tell them how much electricity you've used, among other things. But that's a whole nother side story.
No, you know what? That's really useful information, because I just keep hearing smart meters are bad, but I didn't really know why. So that's a great, useful
Let me explain.
tidbit.
There are two aspects to it. One of them is that the signals that they use are 100 times stronger than your phone. And
oh my God.
And they're connected to your entire wiring system. So those frequencies are basically following all the wires in the house. So basically it's like kind of getting inside of your cell phone and living inside of it. There are so many people ill from these things that they've started an organization called stopsmartmeter.org. And so if you want a lot of information about it, go to stopsmartmeters.org.
Right.
And the second aspect is that there's a surveillance issue with it, because they can tell you, Now with these smart appliances, every time you open your refrigerator, they can actually know that in the office, 50 miles away.
Right.
They can know when you're washing your clothes. They can know if you've left the house.
Right.
They know basically how many people are in the house. And it's a little bit over the edge of.
I think this is why I like spending time in simpler cultures.
I know what you. And then there's one other aspect to them is they've burned down a lot of houses. I think they've had over
Wow.
2,000 home fires. If you look on stopsmartmeter.org, the number keeps going up.
Wow.
They're not really safe.
Right.
And to my knowledge, there's never been an analog, the old type meters. The one on the right is the old style meter, and you can tell if you have a smart meter or not because it has a wheel that turns. If you've ever looked at your electric meter, there's a little wheel that's turning really slowly. That's the old style meter, and they're completely safe. As to my knowledge, they've never caused a fire, ever. And the industry is completely not looking at this issue, and they cover it up. They pay off the people to say it wasn't the fire departments, even to say it wasn't the smart meter that caused it. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, this smart meter industry.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. So that's just about smart meters. A lot of people have been ill from it, and a lot of people.
So do you feel the CHIO helps negate some of that energy?
We've had reports from people that were having problems living in their home with a smart meter to where they stopped having the headaches and stopped having the dizziness and things like that. So all I can tell you is anecdotally what we've heard back from people.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is a map of the United States of the cell phone towers. Now, the yellow part is where there is more coverage, very intense coverage, and then the purple is coverage, and then if there's no color, that's where there isn't any cell phone signals coming out. So basically, if you go to upper part of Montana, that's about the only place in the United States that's not covered with cell phone signals. So even if people don't have Wi-Fi in their home or in their school, or if they don't use a cell phone, they're still exposed. People are exposed, especially in the big cities. If you look over around Chicago, you can see hot spots. New York, New Jersey, all these places are covered, literally covered. And this is just cell phones. I'm not talking about those smart meters.
Right.
That's a whole nother network.
And and on top of that, I've read that and really heard a lot of research data that shows that people who are carrying a cell phone all the time, like women will stick it in the top of their shirt, men will wear it on their belt, and then they're getting cancer near the cell phone. So what's happening when we're just bathing ourselves in that? That's really, it's one reason I wanted to do this show with you, because it's been a really big concern of mine. I'm going, God, we're just bathing ourselves in cell phone frequencies. What is the path out of this and still get to use our technology?
Yeah, and as much as I love my cell phone and I love the technology, again, we have to be careful with it. We have to know what it's doing, what its capabilities are.
Yes.
And one of the people that's been doing a lot of drum banging, let's say, is Dr. Deborah Davis. Now, she was in the Clinton administration, head of the scientific board to look at chemicals, and she was in the protection agency for chemicals and different aspects. And unfortunately, or fortunately, in her case, she was on the board when they were just starting to put up the cell phone towers. And at the time, she went ahead and she approved all of this stuff. She was on this panel to approve all this stuff because she didn't know the dangers of it. They had looked into it, but not that much, and there wasn't that much research about it. And she just thought, well, okay, it was industry was pushing this really hard, and I can see why. It's a huge, huge industry. But then a few years later, one of her best friends died from a brain tumor, and she started doing some research and found out that he was a chronic cell phone user. and the brain tumor was on the side of his head where he used his cell phone, and that started her search to find out. And then she started digging into the research and all the studies that had been done, and found out that it's a really big problem. And so she's one of the major proponents of getting people educated, not trying to stop cell phones, but at least know what the dangers are. And she's written books on it. She's got a lot of videos on YouTube. She's just super educated, super
Nice.
educated.
Sounds like a great resource.
Yeah. So you can look up Deborah Davids, just Google her and watch a couple of her videos, because she's just awesome. So going back to the Scalar Plus, this is what we've been using then to help protect ourselves from these incoming frequencies. Now let me tell you what the Scalar Plus is. When we talk about scalar, that's one aspect of it, which is scalar is a collapsed electromagnetic field. And this technology goes way back to Nikola Tesla, probably even before, but he really used it quite a lot. And a collapsed electromagnetic field is a signal that basically cannot be stopped. They've developed it for communications. They've used it in communications, for example, to go through a mountain, so they could communicate on both sides of a mountain without bouncing it off the atmosphere for security purposes. I had a friend, Eldon Bird, who worked in the military for scalar research for 20-some years. So he educated me. He was a really good friend of mine. He educated me on the uses of it, on the good side and the bad side. I don't want to go into all the scalar weaponry, but they've done strange things with that too. But for example, another really good friend of mine, Dr. Bob Beck, he had a little scalar device, a little scalar transmitter.
Oh, yeah. I know Dr. Bob Beck. I've listened to a lot of his stuff. He was great.
Yeah, he was like my second dad, actually.
He is so cool.
Yeah,
He's not on planet anymore, is he?
He isn't. In fact, he died the same year as my dad passed away, and he was really like my second father. So Bob did this one experiment where for the military, they took him down into a safe room several stories underground where it's completely shielded, and that's where they, if the president needed to go there to have a, completely unsurveilled conversation with somebody, that's where they would take him. It was a safe room. And so no signals could go in and out of that room.
Interesting, because I've lived in underground houses.
Oh, wow.
Which is a very interesting feeling. You're kind of, and being in the Grand Canyon is like that. When you're in the Grand Canyon for 3 weeks. Right.
Yeah, we did that too.
Yeah, you're just in the womb of the mother, and you're so protected from all of the electromagnetic stuff.
Right, and this was like on top of that, they had Faraday cages. This was completely 100% shielded.
Wow.
They could not get any signals out other than through a wire, which they had a red phone, that went to the commanders up top. So Bob said, well, I can get a signal out of here. And he had a little box about the same size as a
scanner. Brother Bob.
In his pocket. And they said, no, you can't. This is completely shielded. And he said, yes, I can. So he got out his little device and he started tapping some Morse code signals on using scalar, which they don't understand because it got taken out of the textbooks after Maxwell died. There was some discussion about whether they needed this part of the mathematics or not, because it's difficult to deal with mathematically. It has weird things about it. So they eventually took it out, and so this was back in the 30s or 40s. They stopped teaching this stuff, and so now nobody knows anything about it.
I've even read in some of the more obscure things that I get into that even our mathematics is very limited. It has a stopping point for being able to really describe all the dimensions and all the consciousness and everything that we're really capable of being part of. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, for sure. And even the mathematics we do have, if they take components out and don't think the world works the way it does work, then it gets even worse. But so anyway, Bob started tapping on this thing, and just within a couple minutes, the red phone rings and said, sir, we have a problem here. And so Bob then helped educate them about scalar electromagnetics, and Eldon Bird was also a really good friend of Bob's. And started teaching some of these aspects to them about scalar technology. So this kind of technology, the frequencies are basically non-stoppable. The problem with the microwave frequencies from cell phones, these are microwave frequencies like the microwave oven, and we all know that microwave ovens,
are not good for us.
Shielded because they can hurt it.
Right.
Well, putting a cell phone to your head is
it's like microwaving your brain.
It's exactly what it does, and it heats up. It gets hotter. Now,
so Don, just to give you a heads up, we've got about 20 minutes left, so that's about where we're at on time.
Yeah, perfect. We're on good timing.
Great.
So this is not going to stop. If a person puts a cell phone on their head, this isn't going to help them in essence, because it's not blocking any frequencies, but I'll show you what it does do. This was the first little CHIO that we designed. It was very small. We shrunk it down a little bit so you could wear it around your neck or on your arm. And people just love this thing. It works really, really well for making people feel better from electromagnetic pollution. Now she's going to do a live cell blood test here with the CHIO, and I had her first test her own blood. And I just look at her face. You can see she's not in the perfect health state.
Right. She looks a little worn out.
She does. She was in Bulgaria, and she was working too hard for sure. And this was her blood to begin with. Now, that's not the way it should look. Really good blood should look like this.
Right.
There should be space around the cells. So I had her make a 10-minute cell phone call without the CHIO. Are you ready for this?
Go give it to us. Let's see what it does.
It just clumps together.
Oh my gosh. That is just...
It's terrible. So the cells are trying to protect themselves. These incoming frequencies are coming in. They're foreign frequencies. They have no idea what to do with this, so they're clumping together. They're trying to protect themselves from this frequency. So then I had her put on the CHIO for only 10 minutes, and this is what her blood looked like. So it's not perfect yet, but already the cells are relaxing. They're spreading
minutes.
I
have to tell you, I do use Wi-Fi, which is a whole nother thing. I'd be curious on your take on that, but I haven't used cell service in 2 years, and I don't plan to get it again. And I managed to get along without it using Wi-Fi instead, which probably still also has its negative train, but and I do get out of the U.S. as much as I can, and I stay in really simple building structures that aren't made in the way our modern houses are. You know, I live in places that are half open to the air, and man, I wouldn't trade that for anything. And I know there's a survival mechanism in me that is seeking that, because I start feeling like I'm beaten down after a while when I'm just in the United States and I'm around this. I say the energy is just hammering us all the time. Yeah. And I happen to be hypersensitive, so I'm very aware of it. And I'm also really conscious of living in my body as a temple. And so I'm asking, how do I really honor this temple and not let modern civilization just beat it to the ground? And very interesting.
So this was another study I did. With the SE5, you can test how much chi. You know, the chi is like the meridian energy. Like when they do acupuncture, they open up the chi meridians, the chi in the meridians to flow. Right. And so we can measure that with the SE5 really easily. So I was at a fair where we had people coming by the booth all the time. So I just had them start with no cell phone, and I just checked their chi stagnation on the left and right side of the body. And this was an average of 26 people, if I remember right, that I measured and kept track of, and then averaged it out. So the average is somewhere about 5%, which is normal without any cell phone or anything. And then I had them turn on their cell phone and just hold it in their right hand, not even talking on it, just hold it. And it went up to almost 50% average, blocking the chi on the right side of the body, and 37% on the left side of the body, which was astounding to me.
Wow.
So then I had them put on the CHIO and turn it on, and they're still holding the cell phone in the right hand. And look, the chi stagnation went down to even below where it started without any cell phone.
Wow, that is amazing. 3.4% and 2.6%. Wow.
Yeah. So there is a chi energy release of energy just by having the CHIO on, even if you do have the cell phone in your hand. So that was a quick study. Now I need to touch a little bit on holograms, because holograms are part of what we're doing now with the CHIO. And this was our very first experiment with holograms back in 1988. It was called the biodisc, and it had a scalar antenna inside of this disc with a chip system, and it would be activated in your own biofield. So when you put, there was no battery or anything in it, but when you put this biodisc in your energy field, it would activate it, and you could do some basic radionic analysis and balancing with it. It was very, very cool little thing. It's not in production anymore. I still have a couple in my
nice.
But it was that was our first introduction into holograms. Now we make some hologram cards, which on the back here's a hologram, and what we do with this hologram is we imprint, just like we can imprint water, like a homeopathic remedy, for example, make information into a water. We can store specific informational fields into a hologram. So it's a little bit like a CD. You know, a CD has the same type of material, and you can burn in information and you can get information out. We work on a hyperdimensional level where we're imprinting this information with scalar fields, and the information then comes back out when you put it into a scalar broadcasting field again. Even if you put it close to your body, you can get some of the effect just by having it really close to your body.
Nice.
So these are some of the different subjects that we've created for broadcasting information. So it's a little bit like radionics for dummies. Most of the stuff is like to enhance your food, for example, activate your DNA.
Nice. Sleep, allergies,
chakras.
reduce pain, spiritual
so
growth. Nice.
We're actually up to 25. I don't have all of them on here. We have 25.
Very
cards.
cool.
Yeah. Now, just to show you what we can do with holograms, because this will blow your mind. These holograms were programmed to preserve the fruit. So we put informational fields in there to preserve the fruit. And obviously the nectarine on the right didn't get a hologram. And that's what happened after, this was 2 weeks. So this was just a 2-week test.
Wow.
But this was an apple. This was a 4-month test. So what he did was he cut the apple in half, and not this half. This was later. This is the half of the half. He cut the apple in half, and half of it got the hologram. You see the hologram under the plate there.
Right.
To preserve the food. And then after 4 months, he cut it in half, this half in half, to see what it looked like inside, right? Because you couldn't tell from the outside so much because it was a little brown, but he wanted to see, and inside you can see it's quite green and looking good. So now I'll show you the other half of the same apple that's cut in half to see what it looked like inside with no hologram. Are you ready for this?
Show us. Oh my gosh. That is amazing.
Okay, so this is the technology that we're working with. This is hyperdimensional technology.
So do you guys sell those little cards, the hologram cards?
Yeah, we sell the cards. Yeah.
And then are they kind of how the chip is made also that goes into the CHIO?
Right. So we use a hologram on the chip that goes into the CHIO. Exactly.
Nice. Very
so
cool.
I'm going to skip over this a little quickly, but there have been double-blind tests to show that these holograms actually do something. These are double-blind placebo tests. So everybody got holograms, but some of them were programmed and some of them weren't. So they hooked them up to a generator on a bicycle, and then they tested how many watts they could produce. And they were able, with the placebo, they were not able to produce as many watts as the people that had the charged watts.
Oh, that is super cool.
And here's one where they did with pain. They did 246 people. The placebo group had only 18% improvement in their pain. And the people that actually had the programmed hologram had 83% improvement of their pain.
Wow.
Of course, with placebo, there's always some improvement, but 18%, normally it's up to 30%, 18 to 30%, but they had 18. Here's the one they did with sleep. The people that had the programmed holograms slept deeper, not necessarily longer, but they slept better and deeper.
Mm.
Here's another one with rhinosinusitis. The placebo group had only a 9% success rate, 93% success rate of symptom relief with the programmed holograms.
Wow.
So this is pretty amazing stuff. So what we do is we put the hologram card inside of the CHIO. This is our medium-sized CHIO. And so it broadcasts it out into a larger field, about a 2-meter wide field.
Nice.
And then we have a room balancer that'll do 1,000 square feet.
Nice.
So not only does it broadcast the information from the hologram, it puts out the bio-friendly frequencies.
Oh, very cool. So you could put those in the rooms in your house.
Exactly. It'll do mostly, 1,000 square feet, and the walls don't stop it. So
nice.
It'll go through most people.
Very cool.
Yeah. Then we have what's called the remote balancer, which is what I call radionics for dummies, and you can send then specific patterns, these informational patterns, to someone at a distance by putting their photo inside the unit.
Nice.
And to get more information on that, read my book, really.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a nice one. A lot of people love this one.
It's like absentee healing, absentee sending.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, remote balancing.
Yeah, nice.
So going back to our small CHIO, it worked really well. And one of the problems that we had with it is that my wife didn't want to wear it around as a necklace because it was ugly. It isn't ugly, but no, it's not beautiful.
Right.
So that's when we met up with some jewelry designers in Bali, and we created this one, which is the CHIO to our first jewelry piece. And I'm going to skip through these slides fairly quickly so I can show you these live.
Cool.
But
That's gorgeous.
it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And then this is the inside of it, and it's just Mark Lee designed this one, who is a visionary artist.
Wow.
You should look him up on the internet. He's just amazing visionary.
Nice. Amazing. Beautiful, beautiful work.
So we're just gorgeous stuff. And it's got so many, I've got videos on all this stuff. You need to watch them.
Cool.
This was an interesting thing. This is one of these quantum pendants, which I call a passive scalar device. The passive scalar devices, basically they use your energy field to power them, like we did the original biodisc.
Right.
And it's good as long as your energy's up. But if your energy is down and you put these in, they'll actually try to take more of your own personal energy to power the device to get you back up. So it kind of ends up scaling down instead of up. But one of these, this one in particular from Japan, a lot of people have seen these around, called the quantum pendant. Part of the way they work is they're actually radioactive. Whoops, what happened there? Could not nudge. Okay, what's happening here?
Your slideshow stuck?
Are you guys seeing this screen?
Yeah, we're seeing it. We're seeing the pendant.
Okay, there we go. Oh yeah. Okay, let me see. Okay, so so we put a Geiger counter next to one of these pendants. This was in Germany. So Gesundheitsgefährliche means that it's dangerous to your health. That's the reading on the radioactive scale on a Geiger counter.
Wow.
So these pendants are not necessarily recommended. But we decided just to see what would happen if we put a CHIO next to one. And this was a very interesting test. It's just sitting next to it, but it's brought the radioactivity down into the safe zone, basically.
Wow, interesting.
Now, I don't recommend people putting on one of these and going to Fukushima or something, but it was an interesting experiment, and that's because it has orgonite in it. This one has orgonite in it.
Gotcha.
It does not do the little one does not have orgonite, and it does not have the same effect. Yeah. Cool. So after that, we designed a smaller version, which is the one you have. The CHIO Phi is a smaller version. Right. And it has the same technology in it, and we added the ability then to put these little hologram cards inside.
Right. Very cool.
And that's what we've got. So now we've married the two technologies, the frequency generator that puts out bio-friendly frequencies, together with the radionic imprinted holograms. These are some more tests we did with the little CHIO Phi. There you can see first before the phone call, after a 10-minute phone call, and it was clumping them up, and then after 10 minutes with the Chio 5. And it looks even better than the original. Like it
Nice. Nice,
yeah.
nice.
Here's another one. Same thing happening. So this is a repeatable thing. Anybody can go and do this experiment.
Nice.
This was an interesting one. We did this just a couple weeks ago. We flew to Singapore. So this was the auric field with a GDV, which is a Carillion photography device, before flying. And then after landing, and this happened to all three of us, you can see and hear all these holes in the aura that showed up. And we did not wear our Chios. We wanted to find out what flying does. And then we waited 2 hours just to see if the field would repair itself. And it did repair, but not that well, not that great. So now, flying with the Chio, totally different experience. So before flying, still, there were even a couple holes in the aura.
Oh my gosh.
Turned on the Chio, got on the airplane, and then after the flight of 2.5 hours to Singapore from here, the aura was completely still intact. And then after 2 more hours, it was like not even intact, it's radiant.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible.
Yeah, great stuff.
Very cool.
So the Chio Phi, we did the Indiegogo program, which I'll let you put some of those videos up on your site so people can watch them. Yeah.
Nice.
And people ask, are they good for children? They're just awesome for children. A lot of kids are wearing them.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
They sleep with them. They won't take them off.
I know.
This is a little film which we're gonna have to skip this one, I think. How many minutes do we have left?
We have about 7 minutes.
Can you tell?
Really about 6. So no, I can't see it. So you can just, if you want to send me that one also, and I'll just insert it here. That would be great.
Yeah. I will. So this is our newest product, which is not yet finished. I have one on, which I'll show you. I want to switch back to live so I can show you these things.
Okay.
But it's a bracelet, and it has the hologram chips in it and the frequency generator. We're changing it a little bit.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah, this prototype I'm switching to where the hologram will be on the top of it. We're going to have a couple different models. This one is sterling silver, and the middle ring will be 14 karat gold. So that one's going to be for the high-end people that want, pure jewelry.
Right.
And then we'll make a brass one for lower end and less expensive. But it looks gorgeous. Everybody's just fallen in love with it.
Very, very cool. So how would you say, would you wear that instead of the Chio necklace, or you'd wear them both together, or?
You can wear one or the other or both. If you want 2 different holograms at the same time, you can put 2 different holograms in. But but it's so people can have one or the other. Some people don't like to wear necklaces, so this way they can wear a bracelet.
Right. So
here's our code for people. For the people that have stuck through this to the end, already getting close to the end, we're going to give a $50 discount on any of our Chio products.
Exciting.
Any of the instruments.
You know, when I think what we spend on a cell phone and what we spend to be living in this immersion and all these ELF waves, this is like a beautiful piece of protection that I would just like to see everybody wearing in order to help sustain better health, better awareness, better clarity, and be able to navigate our way through, to the next level of change that we'll grow into at some point here.
Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I do want to show you a couple of these things live.
Perfect.
And turn my video back on. And because they're just amazing things to see. This is the Chio 2, which I did some pictures. And the internal design of it is just amazing.
Yeah, it looks like you're inside a Swiss watch or something, like a Swiss watch of the future, like the futuristic.
Exactly. Yeah, and this one's rechargeable. That's what the USB port is for. You can just plug it into your computer and charge it up, and it'll run for about 6 months, and then you charge it up again for a few hours.
Nice. So it doesn't need a battery?
It's a rechargeable battery inside, right?
Cool.
So you don't have to replace the
cool.
battery. Now the small one, you do need to change the battery in that one because we couldn't fit it in there. But let me see if I can.
Nice. That's the one I have. I love it.
Right, and it's just got the button battery. They're easy to find. And this, like I said, my friend, I just talked to him last night. He's had it for a year, and he's put in 2 batteries. And it'll depend on the quality of the batteries.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. Some only last a month or 2, and sometimes they last for 3, 4, 5 months. So this is gold plated. We've got a gold plated one, which is beautiful. We've got a silver one, which is actually 62% silver. It's not sterling silver because we mix some other metals with it to make it a little harder. And also there's a whole story behind that, which you'll find in my videos. The Bali priest blesses these before they're sent out.
That is so awesome. I love it. I've seen pictures of your guys working, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, that movie I wanted to show, but we ran out of time.
Yeah.
This one is pure titanium. This is a titanium one, and that's got an amethyst in it. So
Nice.
some of them have moonstone and some have amethyst. And this is the one that you have on, which is called the Black Knight. And like you're seeing it as gold, right? Everybody's seeing it as gold.
Right.
But after you wear it for a while, it turns black. And
Mine's already turning dark, and I love it because I'm used to nano coating things, so I'm kind of like into that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So this is what happens after you wear it for a while.
Nice.
And especially guys like this, but a lot of women are going for the Black Knight too. This turned out to be a mistake. We were trying to not do gold plating, but mix gold with the other metals so that we didn't have to deal with gold plating, because gold plating will wear off after some time. So we made one of these, and it looked beautiful, and we were passing it around, and everybody was going, yeah, this is it. We got it, you know. And then within a couple of hours of us all passing it around, it started turning dark and got darker and darker. So we said, okay, well, we made a mistake, so we're not going to use that. But one of the guys said, well, you know, I need to wear a Chio. So he put it on and wore it, and it turned completely black. And then he called us after about 3 or 4 days and said, you know, everybody wants this black one.
That's really cool.
Oh, really? Well, maybe we'll make some. So I wanted to find out why they turn black. So I looked it up on the internet, and it turns out that gold, the reason that we really like gold is that it reflects almost 100% of the photons that strike it. And so we like that. It brings back the photons after they're reflected. Well, what happens when you mix gold with other metals is that it starts absorbing photons. So it's actually storing light. We perceive it as black. But what's happening is the photons are not returning. They're getting stored inside of there. So it's actually, realistically, the black one has more light in it.
Well, and you know, Nassim Harman says like 2/3 of space is dark light.
Right, it is
We're
light.
used to looking for the light, but there is a dark light that is the same thing. Probably it's absorbing.
And we're just perceiving it that way. It's
exactly.
Our perception.
Yeah.
So this is the medium one. I just wanted to show that one too. It's you can wear it on your belt. It's a bigger one and has the big hologram cards in it. This one's for eliminating cold and flu. And you just slide it in, and it just starts broadcasting these informational fields. Now, it's not working on the physical level. It's not working on the physical body, and we don't make any medical claims or anything like that. They're just informational fields that work on a hyper-dimensional level that restore the body's ability to then heal itself is really what's happening.
Nice.
It's not doing any healing in and of itself. And this is the little plastic one. But they're all really amazing things. And the little holograms we put on SD cards, the SD cards are not functional. There's no memory in the card. The memory is in the SD card itself. I mean, in the hologram itself. And so
why when you plug it in as a chip, does that read the hologram?
Well, the hologram just has to be in the vicinity of the scalar antenna.
Okay.
So inside the little Chio here is the little round thing is an antenna. So when it's in vicinity of that, it picks up these informational fields that are in the hologram and starts broadcasting them out into the environment. And they go out about, like I said, about 2 meters. You've got a pretty good field, except on the room balancer, it'll go out like 1,000 square feet. Yeah.
Well, Don, you look great. You look healthy and vibrant, and your energy feels really good. And, you know, I feel like a kid in a candy store. It's like, this is like something I've been dreaming of. We've got, you know, really Star Trek technology here. And I'm going to post. So let's just tell people how they can get these. I will post under this video the links that you can click on to go to Dawn's site. Some of them will go through me, which will help my 21st Century Superhuman workout. Or you can go there and put in the code Carry 50, and is that correct? And we just went back to screen sharing somehow.
Yeah, I did that.
Perfect.
That way they can see the website. It's chiorganizer.com, and if they put in Carry 50 when they check out, they'll get a $50 discount on that order. Perfect. Yeah.
So I'm just really excited about this. I want to run around and tell everybody and say, come on, you guys, this is going to make you feel better. And so thank you so much for all the work that you've done, what you are continuing to do. So we'll put this information under the video, and I'm going to be building out a page at my website with pictures and information so people can come there and can access your work. And we'll have additional videos by you with your teachings so people can learn more about this field.
Awesome. Well, it's exciting. I love doing this work, as you can tell. It's my passion. I love all this stuff. And it's great connecting with you. I almost feel like reconnecting, like we've traveled such similar parallel paths with each other.
We've probably been on Captain Ron's boat together or very close to each other, you know. I mean, oh my God, just everything from Key West and those dolphins down there. I mean, I say that I am not like a normal person because I've spent so much time with dolphins teaching me to expand my sensory perception. And
absolutely. Yeah, we've swum with wild dolphins, you know, thousands of hours, literally thousands of hours.
Right.
And we love it. And we still do. I think we're still going to do one more dolphin trip. Ilona was talking about doing one more. Maybe she'll talk about that.
Nice. And I'm doing them in Costa Rica now. So,
nice.
Yeah, just shorter ones, but we go out with pods of hundreds of them down there.
Yes.
So,
cool.
And the whales and dolphins come from North and South America to kind of meet and have their babies at Costa Rica. So it's a very energetic place on the planet.
Yes, I remember that was one of the first places we went after Hawaii to go look for dolphins.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, well, we want to just thank everybody for being here with us today. And maybe you can turn your screen share off and we'll just get back to us personally. I just want to remind everybody, breathe, smile, center in love, honor your body as a temple, honor your journey as one of the most powerful journeys ever in human history. We're having a chance right now to be participants in what the ancients called the shift of the ages. And we're here to love and support and help each other and give birth to a new golden age, which I believe we're right on the threshold of today.
Awesome. Okay. Namaste.
Dawn, thank you so much. Namaste and many blessings, and we shall see you again soon.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.